there are some interesting definitions and resources that we can cover today, and we'll do that. It's just you and me today.
Okay.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so there are some more resources that will help us to refresh our memory about this. Okay, we'll start from there. This is a reference to, okay, I can start and then we can continue. We don't have to read everything, but some of them that catches our attention. This is a reference to Bhur, Bhuar and Swar. Srimad Bhagavatam 11 Canto, chapter 24, text 11 and 12. Lord Brahma, the soul of the universe, being endowed with the mode of passion, performed great austerities by my mercy and thus created the three planetary divisions called Bhur, Bhuar and Swar, along with their presiding deities. Heaven was established as the residence of the demigods, Bhuvar Loka as that of the ghostly spirits, and the earth system as the place of human beings and other mortal creatures. Those mystics who strive for liberation are promoted beyond these three divisions. I think this one we covered yesterday about even if one is not perfect Brahmin, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. We can do this one. The Bhagavad Gita, as it is, chapter 14. In Baladev Vidya Bhushan's Gita, Bhushana, this verse is translated as follows. O son of Kunti, know that Rajas, consisting of mutual attraction between men and women, and which give rise to longing for sense objects and association of other people, binds the jiva with desires for action to attain those goals. Yeah, let's pause there. So yes, desires create impetus for us to perform more and more entangling actions. That's why Sangha association is so important. Who we associate with, who we hang out with, those kind of desires develop in us. If we every day hang out with people who study Bhagavatam, who are interested in spiritual progress, then we develop those desires. As we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, imagine, when we have been associating with Maitreya and Vidura, right? We have been associating with Parikshit. Obviously, we imbibe that mood of seriousness in the spiritual life. Parikshit Maharaj had 7 days to live. He wasn't concerned about food and drink. Even Parikshit, when Shukadeva Goswami asked, would you want a break? Are you hungry? And Parikshit is like, no, please continue. I'm very eager to hear what's happening between Vidura and Maitreya. So these things rub off on us. So that's why association is very important. What kind of books we read, who we hang out with, all these things has an impact on our samskaras, on our mind, on our desires. And desires are very important because desires guide us. And in Vedic astrology, for example, desires are Venus, the planet Venus. And when somebody has a certain desire, every other planet follows that to fulfill it. That's why if we have the desire to please the Lord, I want to make a garland for the Lord. And then we think of the flowers, we think of going and plucking the flowers for the Lord, and we're thinking of making the garland and going to the temple. But if we're thinking of sense enjoyment, then our consciousness is degrading. So desires are very important. And it's not easy to just flush away all the desires overnight. It takes time. And the best way to cultivate good desires, or the best way to get rid of bad desires, is by cultivating good desires, by investing our energies and our space, right? We all have a certain uh, mm, like GB, 10 GB, 20 GB. So we all have certain capacities. So the more we fill the capacity with spiritual desires, then there's no much space for material desires. I'm remembering some of the association I had a little earlier in my life were with even with devotees, but the priorities were different for them. It was more about what kind of gopi dress you wear and what kind of choli, which tailor you get so much absorption in jewelry like that. And it was not my nature. And I used to struggle to try to prove that I belong and I wanted to be part of the, like be accepted. But then I realized and I started praying for sadhu sangha, which is like-minded. Because when we have like-minded association, if then we start getting the sangha, it's amazing how desires Krishna fulfills. I had desires for like making garlands, flowers, and then Krishna somehow provided me garden and flowers, and then now I have friends who are also doing service for the deities in that area, and so it's like desires are very important. It creates a future for us. Mm, so I'm very grateful to have this sangha also here, where we can share Srimad Bhagavatam principles and remind each other of what's important and what is not so meaningful, and to edit our life ruthlessly. Yeah, that's so beautiful actually. Thank you for this sangha. Sangha is also like friendship, and sangha is also mm, association. Okay, let's see. Yeah, this is also nice. 55. Would you like to read it, Mataji Rasastali?
Yes,
55.
55, 55.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because he comes to show actually what is God. He comes as human being. That does not mean he is like us, human being. Just like in the prison house, if sometimes the governor goes to inspect and the prisoner thinks, oh, how governor is also one of us. He has become prisoner. Just like Mahatma Gandhi went to the prison house and the pickpocket if he thinks, now Mahatma Gandhi is also one of us. This is wrong. This is wrong. Avajanante ma mudha. Because he is Mudha, the pickpocket, he thinks that Mahatma Gandhi is also like me, or the governor, he has come into the prison house. Therefore, he is also like one of us. No, out of his mercy, he comes. Srila Prabhupada, Lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 7, Delhi, November 13, 1973. Why the
Mm,
soul identifies with the material body is addressed in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 9, Text 1. It is also discussed in Mysteries of Creation, page 97-98. Vasudeva, another name for Krishna. Similarly, Lord Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, is the prime entity in everything. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 19, purport. The importance of discussing Krishna's teachings is expressed in many places. Example, the messages of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are full of potencies, and these potencies can be realized if topics regarding the Supreme Godhead are discussed amongst devotees. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, text 1, purport. See Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 4, text 34. See Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, chapter 1, text 2. The Lord has suggested, therefore, that by the influence of the speeches of saintly persons who have actually realized the Supreme, men are engaged in his transcendental loving service. The conditioned souls get a taste for hearing about the Lord and by such hearing only he is gradually elevated to the platform of respect, devotion, and attachment for the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 5, purport. The qualities of a bona fide spiritual master are described in Easy Journey to Other Planets by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada as follows. A bona fide spiritual master who is fully cognizant of the methods of spiritual science learned in the spiritual scriptures such as the Bhagavad Gita, Vedanta, Srimad Bhagavatam, and Upanishads, and who is also a realized soul who has made a tangible connection with the Supreme Lord is the transparent medium by which the willing candidate is led to the path of the Vaikunthas. Is this one?
I don't know what happened.
Vaikunthas was the last word. Okay.
Yeah, here,
This
63.
one? Was Vaikunthas I read, no? Last hearing
Last
is
one. That's 63. Now, Vaikunthas is the last word of 62.
okay. Yes. Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depend on the costless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endure him with his loving transcendental service. But even with the prescribed form of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 7, Text 6, Purport. As far as the miscreants are concerned, for them devotional service is very difficult because their lives are selfish, irregular, and without spiritual goals. But even some of them, by chance, if they come in contact with a pure devotee, also become pure devotees. Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 7, text 16, purport. Vidura, Vidura appeared to be summarizing Maitreya's teachings in chapter 6, text 5 to 9.
We
See
don't need
also,
to read all the
okay,
references.
okay,
We
okay,
can just read 72.
yes, okay. 72. Spiritual culture promotes spiritual inquiry. Human civilizations mean Athatu Brahma Jigyasa. In the Vedanta Sutra, the first aphorism is Ahato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time for inquiry about Dham, that is human life. Uh, Paritoloma is where the woman is of a higher caste than her husband. Example, a Brahmin woman marrying a Kshatriya man. Sanat Kumara is the chief of the four Sanas. They are sons of Lord Brahma who remain as small boys but who are highly learned in transcendental knowledge. This mission of Brahmaji was fulfilled by the grace of the Lord when the four Sanas, namely Sanaka, Sanat Kumar, Sanadana, and Sanatana, appeared as his four sons. These four Sanas were incarnations of the knowledge of the Supreme Lord, and as such they explain transcendental knowledge so explicitly that all the sages could at once assimilate this knowledge without the least difficulty. By following in the footsteps of the four Kumaras, one can at once see the Supreme Personality of Godhead within oneself. Vasudeva and Sankrishna are plenary extensions of Lord Krishna. The most confidential part of the instruction is that one should always chant and remember the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme
Right.
Personality of Godhead, along with his different plenary portions expanded as Vasudeva, Sankarshna, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. Those expansions are the original deities for all other truths, namely either Vishnu Tattva or Shakti Tattva. This pastime is also mentioned again in Srimad Bhagavatam. Why the Kumaras remain the boys is explained here. After their birth, when they were ordered by their father to become householders and increase human society, they refused the order. They said that they had already decided not to become entangled with family life. They would rather live as saintly brahmacharis for their own perfection. So these great saints have been living for millions of years now, but still they appear to be just like boys of 4 or 5 years. Their complexions are very fair. There is an effulgence in their bodies, and they always travel naked. These four saintly persons almost always remain together. Anantashesha is the divine snake carrier on which Garbhodakshai Vishnu reposes. He is also known as Sheshanaga. In this verse of the original Bhagavatam, he is referred to as Sankarshana. Sankarshana and the Sheshnaga are identical. Sankarshana is the first expansion of Vasudeva, and because he appears by his own will, he is called Swarat, fully independent. He is therefore infinite and transcendental to all limits of time and space. He himself appears as the thousand-headed Shesha. This incident is described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Saudasa was also known as Kalmashpada because of some defect in his fruitative activities. Saudasa was cursed by Vasishtha to become Rakshasa. While walking through the forest, he saw a Brahmin engaged in sex with his wife. And because he had become a Rakshasa, he wanted to devour the Brahmin. Although the Brahmin's wife pleaded with him in many ways, Saudasa devoured the Brahmin, and the wife therefore cursed him, saying, "As soon as you engage in sex, you will die." Puranas are histories of bygone ages, recorded in connection with the pastimes of the incarnation of the Lord, and therefore remain fresh even after repeated readings. The subtle body is made of mind, intelligence, false ego, and contaminated consciousness, and the gross body is made of five elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. A cycle of 4 yugas is this is how much? 4
4,320,000.
lakh 20,000 years. The dissolution lasts for 1,000 such cycles. 4,320,000,000 years. See, the material nature is called avidya or ignorance. So, as described above, the Lord as Garbhodakshai Vishnu or Hiranyagarbha, Supersoul, enters each and every universe and causes it to be animated by begetting the living entities within the womb of the material nature, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, known as Shesh or Ananta, are unlimited strength, fame, wealth, knowledge, beauty, and enunciation, as described in this verse. Ananta's strength is so great that the innumerable universes rest on his hoods. He has the bodily features of the snakes with thousands of hoods, and since his strength is unlimited, all the universes resting on his hoods feel no heavier than mustard seeds. It is indicated the Lord showed his form as Krishna to Brahma in this and the next two verses. Other scriptures also indicate that Krishna revealed himself to Brahma. On the dark chest of the Lord there are streaks named Srivatsa, which are signs of the goddess of fortune. By hearing about and glorifying the Lord, all a person's activities become molded into spiritual activities, and thus all conceptions of material miseries become completely vanquished.
Jai.
Yes. The only friend is Krishna. One should try to raise the consciousness of the conditioned soul to the platform of understanding that Krishna is his actual friend. If one makes friendship with Krishna, one will never be cheated and he will get all help needed. Arousing this consciousness of the conditioned soul is the greatest service, not posing oneself as a great friend of another living entity. Six kinds of opulences, namely wealth, strength, fame, beauty, knowledge, and renunciation, are all originally of different attributes pertaining to the absolute personality of Godhead. Lord Brahma, thus being surcharged with the modes of passion, became inclined to create. But the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of Bharata, you should know to be in the mode of passion. The material body is composed of five gross elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether, and the three subtle elements: mind, intelligence, and ego. Narayana refers to one whose abode is in the water born from Nara. Garbo Dakshai Vishnu. This conversation is narrated in Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the reference chapter. Within the stem of the lotus, there are 14 divisions of planetary systems, and the earthly planets are situated in the middle. Upwards, there are other better planetary systems, and the topmost system is called Brahmaloka or Satyaloka. Downwards from the earthly planetary system, there are seven lower planetary systems inhabited by the asuras and similar other materialistic living beings. For the name of 14 planetary systems, see Mysteries of Creation. Still higher planets such as Baharloka, Tapoloka, Satyaloka, and Brahmaloka do not dissolve in the devastating water. For a pure devotee, the conception of Mukunda, Lord Shri Krishna, is both personal and impersonal. The impersonal cosmic situation is also Mukunda because it is the emanation of the energy of Mukunda. For example, a tree is complete unit, whereas the leaves and the branches of the tree are emanated parts and parcels of the tree. The leaves and branches of the tree are also the tree, but the tree itself is neither the leaves nor the branches. The Vedic version of the whole cosmic creation is nothing but Brahm, mean the science, everything is emanating from the Supreme Brahm, nothing is apart from him. By the inconceivable energy of the Lord, there is the manifestation of creation, maintenance, and annihilation in due course of time, and by different agents like Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara. But all such agents and creative energies are emanations from the Lord, and as such, there is nothing except the Lord, or the one supreme source of different diversities. The exact example is the spider and spider's web. The web is created by the spider and it is maintained by the spider, and as soon as the spider likes, the whole thing is wound up and within the spider.
That's a good analogy.
Yes.
Okay. These are all the calculations. What I want to read is the glossary because it's relevant for our maybe both of that. God of fire. That's also the Sanskrit word for fire. You can read the next. Ahankara.
Ankara, false ego or the false conception that I am the doer. Anartha, literally unwanted, impurity of heart. Apsaras, celestial nymphs of legendary beauty. Arati, worship ceremony in which articles like incense, flowers, and fans are offered. Arudhya, milk-based drink used as a respectful offering made to a guest. Astra, divine weapon, usually prefixed by the name of a particular god or force which presides over. Example, Brahmastra, a weapon presided over by Lord Brahma. Asur, person of atheistic mentality. Avadhuta, a saint with no affiliation or attachment to anything material. Avatara, appearance of a Vishnu form within the material world. Bhairava, name of Shiva. Bhava, first name of love of God. Bhu, syllable in Gayatri Mantra, referring to earthly planets. Bhuva, syllable in Gayatri Mantra, referring to middle planets. Brahma, first of the gods and the creator of the universe. Brahm, the absolute supreme spiritual reality, Krishna's energy. Brahmin, the priestly class, usually teachers. Brahmavadi, one who knows Brahm. Brihaspati, the god's preceptor. Chamara, whisk made from yak tail hairs and used for highly respectable persons. Charana, class of Silicious noted for their poetic ability. Chit Shakti, Krishna's knowledge potency. Daitya, class of powerful demonic beings. Dakshina, donation given to priest after a sacrifice. Banava, class of powerful celestial demons who are the god's enemies. Devi, goddess, also used as respectable term of address for one's wife. Dharma, intrinsic nature or duties. Dwapar Yuga, third of the four Vedic ages. Gandharva, celestial beings famed for their singing and dancing ability as well as their prowess in battle. Gandhiva, Arjuna's bow. Garbhodaka, great ocean filling half of the universe in which lies Garbhodakshai Vishnu. The Garbhodakshai Vishnu, second Purusha Avatara or functional incarnation of Vishnu, who enters each material universe to facilitate creation. Gopa, cowherd man. Gopi, cowherd woman. Indra, king of the gods, also known as Purandra and Shakra. Japa, chanting of God's names. Jaya, victory or all glories, an explanation of approval and appreciation. Jiva, soul. Jnana, knowledge. Kali Yuga, last of the four Vedic ages, also known as the age of quarrel and hypocrisy. Kalpa, one day of Lord Brahma or 1000 cycles of the four ages on each cycle being equivalent to 4.32 million years.
Jai. Okay, we can end here. Good refreshing thing, huh?
Really, very nice.
Yeah, very nice. Thank you so much, Rajastali Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for your session.
Thank you. See you tomorrow. Hari Bol.
See you tomorrow. Hari Bol. Hari
Tomorrow
Bol.
we'll start a new book.
Okay.
Okay. Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Thank you.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Gaura
Jai.
Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai. Hari
Jai
Hari
Gaura
Bol.
Vrinda.